Welcome to a new episode of A Day at a Time with Belinda Payne.
And we're ready. All right. So good morning, everyone, and thanks for joining me. I'm Belinda Payne, and I've got Coach Tim Brown joining me this morning. He's a podcaster, he's an author, he's an inspirational, motivational speaker, husband, father, and a good friend of mine. So I'm joining him this morning on A Day at a Time, where we talk about ways to help you understand how to thrive a day at a time. So welcome aboard, Tim. Good morning. How are you doing today?
Morning, I'm doing well. I'm just excited to be a part of this podcast broadcast. Really excited about the topic.
Good, good.
Thriving one day at a time.
Thriving a day at a time. That's right. And so I have known Tim actually for many years. And instead of me kind of giving you our background and how we know each other, I'd like for Tim to just give us a quick, 60-second, 2-minute synopsis of how we met and how long we've been friends without giving our age, of course, but give y'all an idea how well we know one another. Go ahead, Tim.
Yeah, we first met in high school. We went to Kirk Junior High School in East Cleveland, Ohio,
Mm-hmm.
and also went to Shaw High School together. And the blessing is that we also attended college together.
Mm-hmm.
Ohio University, both graduates of Ohio University, Bobcat. So we have a long history together, and the blessings being able to grow together, so to speak, being able to grow together, mature together, in high school, then continuing on in college. So we have a long history relation. I'm so proud of the great things that Blinda's doing. She's always been, I call her the moral compass for everybody, just keeping everybody on the straight and narrow, and making sure that we're doing the right thing. And knowing right and doing right. That was the biggest thing. So I'm excited to be here.
Well, I'm excited. And one thing Tim didn't share with you is he may see me as a moral compass, but he's really is a coach, just by human nature and just even by profession. Because when we were at Ohio University, and I had this goal to learn how to be a jogger back in the day, and we had a real long bike path that folks would get on even late at night. It was just a wonderful place to be at OU. And Tim decided he would take me up on helping me to lose weight and helping me to learn how to jog. And he said, "Come on here, girl, you could do it, you could do it." And of course, Tim was about this big and I was about that big. But nonetheless, so I'd hang on to the back of his shirt, and he would always be in front of me, and I'd be hanging literally to the back of his shirt while he was in front of me. But he coached me and he helped me to reach my goal. I don't even know if he remembered that, but he really did. So he really is a coach, trust me.
Yeah, that's a great story. Yeah, I forgot all about that.
I kind of figured that you had. Yeah. So I've been jogging ever since, to be honest. I've been a runner. Not the best, but I'm still a runner. I call myself a runner and a jogger thanks to Coach Tim Brown. But I wanted to invite him on today for a really particular reason. As you can see with his backdrop, he's got a new podcast called Be a Baller. And so as I started out, I said, he told you that we met a long time ago, but he's a husband, father. He's worked for the Ohio Department of Education as a licensed teacher. He's been a women's basketball coach many years ago. I went to Columbus, and this was back in the day, Tim, when folks weren't really supportive or even interested in women basketball players. But I had the opportunity to go to one of the games that he coached way back in the day. And now look at women basketball players today that he's actually had that emphasis with. But he's been also an Ohio University and Ohio State chaplain. He's a minister, he's a preacher, but he's a speaker, and he's what I called him earlier, a rally riser. He's someone he can rouse a crowd. He was our speaker for our class reunion this year and just really encouraged us and rallied us on. So I want to talk to Tim today, though, about him being an author and a podcaster. So he's picked a common theme about uncommon people, uncommon children, uncommon athletes. And he spreads this gospel, as I call it, not just from a preaching platform, but he's got a platform that he can go into a community, he can go into a corporate environment, a college environment, a college campus. So Tim, can you kind of give us an idea how you birthed this theme about uncommon and how it permeates in everything that you say. And then we're going to tie that into your podcast.
Yeah, I think it's kind of thanks for all that. But it's been my life story, about being uncommon. Uh, and the whole thing for me, being uncommon, is doing things in an uncommon way. I'm always looking. You mentioned girls basketball, which was not common.
That's right. That's
Focus
right.
is not common, and so I saw that as an opportunity to take that and do it in an uncommon way. And for
Mhm.
me, uncommon is kind of going against the grain, so to speak. And really, uncommon people are mainly underdogs.
Mhm.
They are truly underdogs. They're not the ones that are out there out front, being recognized, but they're the underdogs. And so I've been that way all my life. I was the high school, so I was ball in sports, but I wasn't on the field or on the court. I was a manager. So here you are, you have a high school senior, guy out here running water out the guys,
That's right.
whatever, chasing balls, I'm a high school senior, doing all this stuff. So truly uncommon, but that prepared me for what I do today, and that is serving. And the whole concept came from this, as you mentioned, being a speaker and having these opportunities. And I work for the Fellowship of Christian Athletes. So I would bring in top college Ohio State players. They come in, they speak, they get everybody excited, and then they're gone.
So tell us while you're right there, what's the name of your two books?
Boys won't be boys, and that's empowering boys live uncommon in a common world. And the other one is uncommon athletes,
Okay.
filled with passion, fueled by purpose.
Okay.
And so the goal of those books was when I noticed that, and I caught myself doing that same thing. I would come in and get everybody excited, and then I would leave.
Mhm.
And so Lord dropped in my spirit that you need to write a book so you can leave them with something.
That's right.
Now they have a blueprint to follow to be. If they're going to be uncommon, they need a blueprint to follow for that uncommon path. And so that's where the birth of the book came from, was I wanted to do more than just come in and get people excited. I
Mhm.
want to leave them with a message, leave them with a blueprint that they can follow. And a lot of the book is really my life story is in the book. I talk about uncommon identity, and I recognize you got to protect your name. Uncommon foundation, you got to have a solid foundation. Uncommon relationships, uncommon respect. All those things are based on what I've done in life and just being uncommon.
So you mentioned something, or I know this about you. If you don't mind, just give us a snippet, because I have so much love and respect for your mom. So how do you think the training that you got at home helped you develop that type of stamina, resilience, perseverance, and that uncommon spirit that just lives inside of you?
Yeah. For my mother was definitely, I think the most important thing I tell people mother did for me, not knowing my biological father. She took us to church every Sunday, and
Mhm.
she introduced me to my heavenly father. And that was the greatest thing that can happen for me, knowing that God can sustain me through all these things. But the other thing was just watching her tenacity,
Yeah.
watching her determination with four children and all the things that she did to make sure that we didn't go without, that we had those things and all that drive and that determination. Mom's from Tuscaloosa, Alabama. So
Hmm.
she's from grew up down south, grew up in the segregation, Jim Crow era.
Yeah.
So she's seen some things. So for her to uh, deal with that and knowing what's inside of her, just watching all that.
Hmm. Hmm.
And then that's kind of the drive that was placed inside of me, that resilience. You can't give up, you can't quit. Best thing there's a couple things that she really talked about was character
Hmm.
all the time. She always talked about keeping yourself above reproach. And I didn't know what that meant until later on in life. Best
Right.
she was saying is don't get caught up in these things where your name's gonna come into question.
That's right.
Yourself above reproach. And so I've spent my life just trying to, and through the power of the Holy Spirit, just being respectful, just doing the right thing. Just trying to do the right thing.
Now, I look at you and I look at me, of course, and we've kind of gone through that, but look at your own life. And a part of what my podcast deals with is time as a teacher, and everyone is a student. And so, how has time played a part in your life? If you look back and just do a capsule, if I'm going to give a synopsis to a person, you think, how has time played a significant part in you understanding the timeline of things, timing, time management, and time, that all of those things really work there. But we don't always use those terms, of course. When we're growing up, we weren't introduced to these concepts that we live with now in the 21st century when we were in high school. But when you look back and you're looking at your podcast, and I want to tie this into Be a Baller, when you look at timing, how did you know it's the best timing for you to start the podcast? And that it was a certain time in your life, whether it's age generated. And how do you manage your time? You're a busy guy. You're always on the move. You're full of energy. So how do you manage your day? How do you put that together if you want to share that with someone who wants to maybe follow your steps?
I think one thing comes to mind is with time, you have to recognize and realize that the Bible says that all things work together for the
Hmm.
good of those who love the Lord, called according to his purpose. Time is really based on when you find that key word is purpose.
Yes.
When you have a purpose for what you're doing each day. You just can't do things haphazardly. Things just don't happen. You got to
That's
have a
right.
purpose for what you're doing. Purpose of why are you going here? What's the benefit to this of your time? You got to value your time. I taught school, and my first school assignment was with a veteran, former principal, veteran teacher, and he told me this. He said, "Tim, uh, you can tell how your day is going to be by if you don't have a lesson plan. Those kids got a plan for you.
That's
And that
right.
was
That's
important to having a plan.
because I
You
have
got to
been a
walk in
student
there with a plan.
teacher.
If you don't have a plan, they got a plan for you, and
That's
they'll
right.
waste all. Yeah, they'll waste all the time, all day long. They'll play all day long if you don't have a plan.
That's
And
right.
so I learned that. And so in any situation I go in with a plan, but I'm also prepared.
Mhm.
And I think the thing that we miss sometime in time, we don't realize the preparation that it takes,
That's
to
right.
be prepared.
That's
And
right.
that time you got to set aside to be prepared, prepare for whatever you're doing. That preparation is so important in time. If you're not prepared, you're going to be in trouble.
Yeah.
First off, you're wasting your time, you're wasting people's time.
Hmm.
And people know when you're not prepared.
That's right. Can't
You
fake
can't
that.
fool them.
Yeah.
You can't fake that. So you got to use your time a couple ways. One is preparation. I
Hmm.
tell guys all the time, working with young guys, I tell them this: you can waste my money, but don't waste my time.
I love that. I want to kind of pause him right there because I've heard him say that before. So say that one more time, Tim. You can do
Yeah,
what?
you can waste my money, but don't waste my time because I can get money back.
But
You
time
know,
is priceless.
I can't get that time
Can't
back. And
get
I
that
tell those
back.
guys, you're only gonna be in 8, 9, 10. You're only been in high
That's
school for
right.
so long.
That's
Don't
right.
waste this time because you can't get it back.
But
You know.
Tim, let's
So
be honest, when we look at our own lives and we should tell our young people that, right? But we've been young and we know we got kind of told the same story. And we listened and then we didn't listen. And we look back, we haven't been, I guess, horrible people, I would say. And we've, I think, become fairly stable people. We're Christ
mhm,
minded. We're not
yeah.
perfect, but we want to do the right thing. But we know that it's a coaching process. So what's inside of you, this coaching spirit that you have is to recognize, I think, that you aren't going to reach everybody, kind of like discipleship. Christ had the 12, he lost the one, but coaching, is that similar to like discipleship is what you're doing when you say don't waste my time? How are you kind of helping people to understand that they're never going to get that time back?
Well, you have to give them. I think a lot of times young people look at examples, of people who have squandered,
Mhm.
time and talent, and whatnot, and that they just kind of wasted away. But you got to have a purpose. And I give you these four things I tell
Okay.
guys. Success is based on this. The first thing is you got to show up.
Hmm.
You have to show up.
Yeah.
So once again, we're talking about time now. You got to
Right.
show up. You got to
Yeah.
show up. You got to show up on time. But other thing, you got to show up. You got to show up, and you got to be you got to be mentally there, not just physically there. You
Hmm.
got to be mentally there.
That's
So
right.
it's the first, you got to show up mentally, ready to go. Don't waste people's time.
Mhm.
Second thing is this: when you show up, you got to show with a positive attitude.
Okay.
You wasting people's time if you got a negative attitude.
That's right.
Nobody's around those
They don't
kind of
act like
guys.
they want to be there anyway.
Right. And then when you show up, here's my thing. I tell, since you get on the bus at 6, 7 o'clock in the morning, why you get on the bus and not putting forth maximum effort, not doing a minimum? And that's when we talk about being uncommon. Uncommon is about not just doing the bare minimum. It's
And that
about doing maximum.
and that maximum goes or permeates and should transcend in everything that we say and do. It's not just
Everything.
compartmentalized for this event or that day. It should be a part of our life, like breathing, I'm thinking, right?
Yeah, yeah, that's it. And the fourth thing and most important thing, so
Okay.
you're showing up, you got a good attitude, You give for maximum effort. But the fourth thing and most important thing is you have to have a plan. You got to have a plan.
Okay.
You have a plan for your time, a plan for what you're doing. You just can't do it just to be doing it. You
Right.
talk about the podcast and the book. There's a plan behind all this. Not just doing. There's a plan behind it. You got to have a plan. So as you're planning out your day, you got to look at it is the time I'm spending here going to lead to me fulfilling my plan.
That's right.
And it's a personal thing. It's a personal plan.
And
People
you
say, "Oh man,
always
you
have
just
an
waiting."
objective. I'm thinking you
Right.
always have an
Yes.
objective, right?
Yes. 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 Because people saying, "Man, you're just wasting time," and they don't understand. You got a plan. For you, for someone else is a waste of time.
Right.
But for me personally, plan behind all this.
Right. So when you said that, and I want to kind of close out with just talking about the podcast, and one of the phrases that I like to say is don't let people hijack the cockpit of your life. People can hijack your time just like that. Before you know it, you're off on a tangent and you're going down a road or a journey that you didn't expect to be on. Either you agreed to do something that you really didn't have time to do, but you kind of gave in and you thought, man, why did I say that? Why did I tell them I was going to do this? So it's about managing your time. And so you managed your time in such a way that now you have elevated yourself and you've got the podcast going on. I watched and listened to Tim's got some great podcasts. He's got some great folks. And I want him to just kind of drop some names in here about some of the people that he's had on the podcast. And for those of us who are women who may not be very sports minded. I like the term baller. So I wanted him to just kind of tie that in and help us understand what it means to be a baller, whether on the field or off the field or just in life. And then give us a few names of the folks you've interviewed that you really think these have been some great interviews.
The baller concept is everybody understands that baller and they think that person's got a lot of money, got a lot of fame.
Mhm.
But I met with a pastor, Pastor David Forbes, and we sat down, we talked about this whole concept. And I have to give him credit. He came from the name Baller. An acronym for Baller is building a lifelong legacy. Building a lifelong legacy.
Like
So if
that.
you're gonna be a baller, you got to be building something. If you think about baller, all the ball they're building something. So our focus is you want to build a legacy, and it's want to be a lifelong legacy, and it has to be intentional.
Good.
So while you're spending time with people, while you're building this thing, you have to be intentional about building that legacy. What is your legacy going to look like? So some of the people we had on there, you'll see this gentleman a lot, Clark Kellogg. He'll be on there like he's a childhood friend. He grew up in East Cleveland, but he kicked it off. Then we had Pastor David Forbes. His dad was one of the founders of SNCC, Student Nonviolent Coordinating Committee at Shaw University in Greensboro. So he shares that. Got a pastor on there, Pastor Leon Troy, who's 96 years old. So, there was some great wisdom there. We had the former mayor of Columbus was on there. Coach Jim Tressel's coming on. We've had some people in business. So the components of the baller is being a baller, leaving a legacy in community service, leaving a legacy in sports, leaving a legacy in education, and leaving a legacy in fatherhood. So it's kind of been the focus for this first season.
Okay.
Next season we'll have some other folks on there, but it all came from as you get older, you begin to I began thinking, what is my legacy?
Mm-hmm.
Why am I here? What have I done? And then I began thinking about giving people an opportunity to share their legacy,
that
being
is.
able to share. And for me, the podcast is about encouraging all people, all ages, to begin thinking about what is that legacy going to be. You can learn from some older guys,
Yeah.
but also you're building yours right. And every day you're building your legacy. Once again, with your time, how are you spending that time?
That's right.
What are you spending that time doing?
And
You
I
ought to
think
be thinking about that.
when you were saying that, and I'm gonna break this down and we'll close out our journey today. But when you said that, it made me really think about, so whether you're a stay-home mom, whether you're an athlete, whether you are a corporate worker, whether you are a sanitation worker, whether you work in fast food, whatever it is recognizing that you got to be intentional. And so these are practical terms. There's nothing mystical or magical about being intentional. There's nothing mystical or magical about recognizing that we all have 24 hours in a day and how we use that. And we have to have a purpose. And that purpose is evolving. And sometimes I think we get stuck in a purpose because it worked 5 years ago or 10 years ago, or we were successful and we want to hang on to that because it makes us feel good. But I'm learning that over time, and best timing and time management is to recognize that as we get older, our purpose begins to change and evolve, just like your health, just like your relationships. But if we try to keep that and lock it down and make it captive, that's when we get stuck. And so you have progressed and matriculated through all of that. And I'm just really proud of you and proud of what I've seen you do. You fought against obstacles, naysayers, people who didn't believe, said, "Oh man, you ain't gonna do this and you can't do that, but you ain't got enough money." Like we said, you weren't poor. I get it, but people can say, "Well, you didn't have a dad, so that's a reason why you can't do something or you can't learn how to be a man or have manhood." But I'm just really excited about your journey, the fact that you've allowed me to participate in your journey, and you're still in my journey, as we continue to go. And I've watched the podcast episodes that you've been creating, and I'm excited. And so I pass them on to my LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram, whatever I can do to help Tim, and he's helping me. So if you were to just give us one quick word as we close out, tell us, how do you thrive a day at a time? If you were to give someone a quick sentence or two about thriving, how do you thrive a day at a time, and how would you recommend other people to do that?
I'm saying, and pretty much said a lot of great things there. One, you talked about different seasons, different seasons of your life. But I believe this, even when I was in college, I always believed that you always have time to share with somebody else your wisdom, your knowledge. If you want to thrive, the way you thrive is by passing on what you know.
That's right.
That's the way you thrive. And you got to do that every day. Every day you have to be intentional about sharing. Because I remember when I was at Ohio University, I would watch the freshmen would come in, sophomores. I'm a little older, had to do that fifth year,
Right.
So I'm still around. You would already graduate. You
Right. And
still there. You graduated. I'm still there. I couldn't come to the same graduate. We started the same time. We ain't on the same time. Anyway, I look at that.
It's all good.
Yeah, God has a plan.
That's
We all
right.
graduate. But
That's
anyway,
right. That's right.
I would always tell people that you don't have to wait
Mm-hmm.
to share your knowledge, your wisdom. And that's part of that. What are you doing each day? To me, my focus every day is be able to share some wisdom with somebody. You got to have part. You got to have a plan. So and the whole thing about thriving, I love your podcast about thriving one day at a time. But thriving is helping somebody else. That's to me. That's what thriving means to me. Is how can I help somebody else thrive, be successful? And a lot of that's giving of your time.
That's right.
For your time. You got to sit down with somebody, because there's somebody who's I asked some guy on the podcast. He said this: when the student is ready, the teacher will appear.
I like that.
Student is ready, the teacher will appear. And I found this so many times, boy, and I'm telling you, and you can find when that student's ready.
Yeah, you do. Because Tim may not remember, and I really am trying to close this out so he can move on. But I did my student teaching at OU, even though I didn't pursue that as a career. But one of the things that my student teacher, Proctor, he was the teacher of the class, at the very end, I actually got an A. I got A for teaching and an A for the class itself, which really boosted my GPA, which wasn't that great back in the day. Even though I worked hard, it just wasn't. But I got a double A, so it was a 15 credit hour A basically for that quarter. But the thing that I didn't, honestly, Tim, I didn't understand, I was struggling. We were way up in the Appalachian Mountains back then, so I had to get a ride to the school. I didn't have a car. It wasn't easy to get to the class or whatever. The school, they had an open concept back then. They had just closed the partitions because they found that it wasn't effective. And so there was a little young guy, redhead little kid in my class, and he wasn't very attentive, and you had an attitude, kind of like you say, when the kid shows up, then you'll show up. And I didn't even realize that I was being effective. Honestly, I was just a nervous college kid trying to get out of college, trying to get this student teaching certificate. And the teacher spoke with me at the end. He said, because I won this kid over. He said he was not the kind of kid that would listen or pay attention, but the kid began to like me as a teacher. And I'm Black. I'm the only Black person in the classroom, with a bunch of kids. And this child to respond to my teaching methods. And he wrote a really wonderful teaching review about me that I've kept that, and it taught me something that, yes, it's just like you're saying, once that kid, that spirit connects, and you see it, you feel it. When you feel that spirit connecting within you and that person, whether it's corporate or whoever it is, if it's 5 people out of the 500, then your spirit connects with those. And those are the ones that you begin to really share that wisdom, because they want to hear it. They want to know it. They want to receive it. And you start planting those seeds inside of them. Then they plant those seeds from your mom, that she didn't know that you were going to be sitting here or standing somewhere. And so she's living on through everything that you say and do. And that's what I'm learning about time and timing. Don't worry about the number. You don't have to worry about the audience. All you got to do is be you. And that's what I love about you. You just are Tim. You've always been Tim. And so you're not ashamed. I'm not ashamed of where we came from, how we grew up. We had a good background, wholesome background. We got taught well, grew up in the church. Church might not have always been in you, but in us, it was in us. But I'm saying, as we represent in life, that Christ is inside of us. But nonetheless, God kept us out of trouble. He let us graduate. Didn't have money all the time, in school. I remember, I don't know about you, but I had to work every quarter in school. I was working in the cafeteria or the library or something. I didn't have quarters that I didn't work. I didn't get a scholarship. But when you said that, it just blessed me, because it's so true. It's a spiritual experience. And being a baller, like you said, it's not about the money. It's about the impact. It's about the legacy. And so I'm happy that you are leaving a legacy in a what do you call it, digital way now, not just but people can go back. People don't always pick up a book, but now people like to press buttons. And so I'm thankful for be a baller.
Like you said, timing.
Yeah.
When I wrote the book 10 years ago.
Wow.
So that was telling you guys are, buying books. Now it's digital, so you gotta, it's always about that timing,
Yeah.
Now we're in a podcast digital age.
Right.
People are listening. And the thing about this is that it's in there forever. It blesses me. It also blesses the people who are doing it, because they know that this is going to be there forever. So that next generation, the grandkids will be able to listen to the children,
That's
all
grandma,
that.
that's grandpa.
Right, that's it right now. That's why I wanted to do that. So they have that like that legacy, that lifelong legacy.
Well, thank you for letting me be a part of Be a Baller Legacy today, and you're being a part of my podcast, A Day at a Time, taking life a day at a time, and the fact that we can thrive. And when we learn to thrive a day at a time, then we can actually be that person that we've always wanted to be, with the purpose, and recognize that just take it a day at a time. So God bless y'all. Thanks for joining me, Tim. And I'm looking forward to seeing you probably soon in the near future. We'll get back together and we'll expand on this podcast. So God bless you.
All right, thanks for the opportunity.
All right. Thank you. Talk to y'all later. Bye-bye. And remember, y'all, time is a teacher and everyone is a student. All right. God bless you.